Championship. Final score 72-67. First conference title for UCLA in women's basketball since 2006. 17 points and 4 steals for Bruin center Lauren Betts. Juju Watkins led USC with 29 points. Both teams should get a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. The Lakers will be without LeBron for at least 2 weeks. LeBron has a groin injury. The last time LeBron had this issue, he missed 17 games last season. The Lakers are at Brooklyn tonight. Kawhi Leonard's hook shot at the buzzer lifted the Clippers to a 111-110 win over Sacramento in overtime. Third straight win for the Clippers. Wide receiver Devontae Adams, a 6-time Pro Bowler, will be in a Rams uniform next season. Adams signed a 2-year deal worth $46 million. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, this is Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, and for over 20 years, Parkside Economic Development Corporation has served Leimert Park and surrounding communities, empowering tomorrow's leaders and changing lives. Parkside EDC has awarded over $400,000 in college scholarships while sharing economic principles of the Big Five of money with students and their families. Parkside EDC partners with organizations like the Brotherhood Crusade to assure our youth have the financial acumen to succeed. Parkside EDC provides families and businesses with financial insights, offering free online, on-site, and on-air B-Warp presentations. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Programs helps our community acquire, sustain, and pass down legacy wealth. High school seniors can apply for this year's scholarship awards at parksideedc.org. Scholarships will be awarded at Parkside EDC's Gospel/Jazz Brunch on Sunday, April the 27th. For details, tickets, or donations, please visit parksideedc.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Black on black, black, yeah, hey. Okay, black on black, my thoughts so black, I'm black, my skin is so black, I'm rocking that black on black is black.
Rims on this black wheels in this black whip with this black. So black on black on black on black on.
Hey, black out the coupe, hop out the roof when I run into you. Thoughts black as the dark side of the moon. Won't be no truce. At your funeral in an all black suit. Couple white girls rocking all black too. Me and your man marching on all black roots. Call up the troops. Punch you in the mouth, then knock out your tooth. I can tell when they not telling the truth. Talking that what you gon' do? What you gon' do? Back and I'm black and I'm acting brand new. In the back like, oh word, diamonds all black like what you heard. Spilling some black on the curb, just for the memory of the deceased. When I black out, I've awakened the beast. What it's gonna be? You don't want with a like me.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Black on black.
Yep, all that. That's why we call it KBLA CK Talk 1580. All right, so I am really honored to have with me this morning an author. His book, Black Nationalism in the United States from Malcolm X to Barack Obama, earned multiple accolades. He's a former president of the National Conference of Black Political Scientists. That's an important organization of African American, African, and Afro-Caribbean political scientists in the United States. And he is a professor at the University of San Francisco. Professor Dr. James Lance Taylor, welcome back.
Thank you for having me back, Dominique.
Yeah, so we were talking briefly off the air, and you brought up Congressman Al Green. And it's interesting because I had a conversation over the weekend, and I've heard and seen some people on social media talking about the president's address to Congress and saying that Al Green was out of line, that he, was out of decorum, that he looked foolish. And for me, I thought just the opposite. I wish all of the Dems would have stood up and started, calling out that torrent of lies. How do you read it from, a political science hat?
Well, thank you so much. First of all, I want to say when I was president of NCOBPS, the Black Political Science Organization, The keynote speaker I brought in, because you get to be president for a full year and you get to control the conference and set it up. And the keynote speaker I chose was your father.
Oh, wow.
And so your father came down to, I believe it was in Virginia, and gave a speech. And it was very controversial because he gave the poem, and he talked about Condoleezza. And the way he said Condoleezza, some of the sisters in the conference didn't like it, and they were sitting there murmuring after, trying to figure out how do we approach this. But it was just a part of his presentation, and he wasn't faded by it. And he was so humble, and the way he treated me and talked to me and acted towards me the entire time from the moment I made contact with him until we shook hands in person. Your father was an amazing man to me, and so I just want to get that in there, that I actually brought your dad in as a keynote when I was president of NCOBPS. But getting back to the topic.
Oh, and for those who are not familiar, he's talking about Amiri Baraka, a.k.a. Leroy Jones, the writer, poet, activist, who I'm, blessed to call my papa, my baba. May he rest in peace. And thanks for looking out for him when he was alive. And I know you were trying to stir the pot if you brought my dad, because he minced no words.
Absolutely. And I think there's something instructive there, because what Al Green did, Al Green taught us that the best solution to these difficult times is to tap into the script of our history and pull from it what is still applicable and useful. So after he was censored, Al Green talked about why he did what he did, and he explained that he was willing to suffer the consequences. And this comes directly from Martin Luther King, who gave a speech about Birmingham, and he talked about the Birmingham letter, and he explained that when he engaged in his actions, Martin Luther King, he was willing to suffer the consequences. And that's what Al Green did. And he says it's a matter of conscience. I didn't just do this to be, difficult. I did this because I see what is happening to healthcare in this country. And that was his principal position. And it's sad that the other Democrats didn't also demonstrate with him. They let him, stand out there on his own. I'm sure there were people supporting him, but they didn't demonstrate it as much as he did. But he talked about, at his age, over 70 years old, how he sat in the back of the bus, how they segregated him. So it's not like someone in their 40s or 30s or 20s talking about what happened to black folk in the past. Al Green lived in the back of the bus. He saw brutal, open racism. And so he's telling us, this is what we have to do. And I think this is for all of us, that the best thing we can do now is to tap into the likes of Ella Baker. We should be reading Jimmy Baldwin. We should be reading, my favorite writer, what's her name? Beloved, Toni Morrison. We should be listening to tapes and YouTubes of Fannie Lou Hamer talking. That's where our solutions are. They showed us what to do when the devil shows his head. And so that's what I'm saying Al Green did. Al Green tapped into our history to deal with right now. And I think that's the key to our mental and spiritual survival right now.
Kwamel is asking how my dad pronounced Condoleezza. I remember the poem very well. He used to say something like, what kind of skeeza is a Condoleezza?
That was it.
Yeah, he was good for a turn of a phrase. Y'all think I got comebacks. Nope, nothing like, the root, the DNA there. But yeah, he was making a point about politics. He wasn't just making a diatribe about a woman. He was talking about her politics. So I think that's important to point out. But yeah, I think you're right. At the same time, Dr. Taylor, 60th anniversary of, the March on the Edmund Pettus Bridge was this weekend, and everyone, there was commemorations of it, and folks are talking about it. And I wonder how you would put that in the context of now, because to me, there's a part of that I'm very glad that people are remembering our history and celebrating struggle and resistance. But on the other hand, there's this whole sort of respectability politics piece that comes with the crowd that tends to uplift that, which I just don't think is what we need right now. I just feel like we got to go hard. If there was ever a time to go hard, it's right freaking now.
And I think people are bracing themselves and trying to figure out, okay, how do we do this? Like, how do we organize? Like, how do we And you see it happening all over. It's not getting as much national press, but people are protesting all over the world right now against Trump and against Elon Musk. And the question for us is, when will the trigger set off a massive black response like it did with George Floyd? And tragically, it might have to be something as grotesque as George Floyd. Things happen all the time that we don't respond to in a particular way. And then out of nowhere, a spark occurs because of an incident that we didn't anticipate would be significant. So what I'm saying is the fire is lit. And the question is, what do we put it to?
Yeah.
Because eventually we are going to apply it in some way. I think people are just waiting to see how far are these devils willing to go before they provoke us to a massive response.
Gosh, so many questions. Dr. Taylor, if we wait to see how far they go, will too much damage be done to come back? Is part of my question. I mean, if people are thinking, like, I feel like a lot of the sort of corporate Dems are sitting there strategizing on how to win back Congress in 2026, but will it be too late to fix it by then? I mean, if everyone said, oh, it's going to be too hard to dismantle the Department of Education. Oh, you can't unilaterally dismantle USAID, but they're doing it. When you lay people off, when you interrupt funding, even if the opposition eventually wins in the courts, it's broken now.
Right, and there's a lot of damage done and being done. I mean, $400 million taken just yesterday from Columbia University because it didn't stop anti-Semitism when most of Columbia is Jewish, like NYU is. So that's crazy. A lot of the folks that supported Trump are also suffering. For example, China is not just going after manufacturing in general. China is going after farmers in the South, in the red states, to impact them directly because they're not just arbitrarily coming up with tariffs and other methods. The Chinese are going directly after farmers, and add that to the fear that's caused so many migrant workers to disappear. America's about to feel what it's like to be a third world country. I mean, we are unfortunately a country in decline. That was projected in the late 1990s, that the American century was over, and then we've had this interrupted 45 and 47 backlash or response, and it's chaotic and intentionally so. But I think the center still holds. I think that's what we have to look at last cycle. When Trump was in power, he tried to bend and break and tear and rip, but the center held. Alex de Tocqueville, in his book Democracy in America, talks about lawyers and the special role they play in society as a kind of aristocratic class in America, even though we don't have an aristocracy. But they're the closest thing de Tocqueville says we have to it. And he says whoever has the best lawyers will win. And that's what I think. I tell my students, the lawyers will save us. That's what I've been telling my students because, again, even including Trump-appointed judges, there are judicial norms. I was on a panel with Lawrence Lessig. He's a Harvard University law professor, and he and I were at the Commonwealth Club together talking about his book. And his book was making the argument that no matter how extreme a judge might be, just like a professor might be radical, but when that professor gets in a room with a bunch of other professors, that professor better act like a professor. And that's the same thing for judges. So judges might be extreme, but they always come back to the middle. And even Amy Coney Barrett this week, made the right wing mad because of how she voted. And so again, the center held last time. The center will hold this time. But I think, again, the democracy has to rise up. The people have to rise up everywhere at the local level, and I think that would be effective. But yes, the damage is done. They continue to do the damage, but these things come in cycles. Every 30 years, we have a New Deal, then we have a Ronald Reagan attempt to undo the New Deal, and that's what this is all about. This is about FDR, MLK, and LBJ. From 1932 to 1964, there was 30 years of liberal domination. And then Reagan comes along and says, government is not the solution, government is the problem. And that's what has driven everything since for the last 30 years. So we're in another 30-year cycle. and Obama interrupted it. And unfortunately, Trump, came back in the cycle. But it should have been that after Obama for 30 years, there shouldn't have been another Republican for a while. But that's, it hasn't played out that way. But we do have cycles.
Yeah, well, that's the little sprinkle of.
FDR was seen as a disruptive president because he came along and came up with Social Security and different domestic programs to help the poor and the unions and the workers. So again, I have faith in the center. And the center includes all of us who are the opposition to them trying to, run this country in a direction towards authoritarianism or dictatorship. Which, again, for black folk, Reverend Jamal Bryant said the other day, like, what can they do to black folk that they have not already done? Yes. They've already done it all. We've seen whole towns washed over with oceans, with water. We've seen whole towns burned and razed like Tulsa, Oklahoma. We've seen our people hanging from trees. We've seen babies cut out of their mamas. What more can they do? They're talking about bringing fascism. Black folk have lived under fascism for 400 years. Now, the difference is these people are actually saying it out loud. But under Bill Clinton, more black men went to prison when he was on our side than Reagan, and Bush in their 12 years. 8 years of Bill Clinton put more black folk in prison than 12 years of Reagan, Bush. So the devil has always been in our presence, and we always knew how to survive and negotiate it, and we thrive and we strive, and that's what they have a hard time with. When Kendrick Lamar comes out and does what he did at the Super Bowl, that was the first shot for black folk to shoot back, because the solution, like your father showed us, was cultural revolution. Culture is where we dominate this society. And Harold Cruz, who your dad knew well, also, he had the crisis of the legal intellectual, he also argued that we have to find the vulnerabilities in the system and then attack those vulnerabilities. And I think, again, our culture is where they can't touch it. They have nothing like what Kendrick Lamar did. That's why we hurt so much when we lose to Angie Stone or Dwayne Wiggins, because we know how deep they were and indebted to the culture. Our culture is more powerful than their racism. And this is how we survived for 400 years under it. Our culture is more powerful than their white supremacy. And that's something I don't think most black folk understand.
Dr. James Lance Taylor is our guest. We'll continue our conversation when we come forward. I'm Dominique DiPrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
A new day is on the horizon.
Behind every great moment in history, there's a woman whose story went untold. This March on KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing those hidden narratives to light. Hear extraordinary stories of women who transformed science, politics, arts, and community. Women you've never heard of, but should know. Celebrating Women's History Month on KBLA Talk 1580, where every story matters.
Hey, not to be dramatic, but you should smell this. Smells so good.
Whoa, that's quite the reaction to mixing and matching Gain scents. Let's hear another from Ashley, who mixed Gain products and went...
I'm so excited.
Yes, you are. What about you, Isaiah?
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And Emily summed it up like so.
It is just chef's kiss.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Mix, match, more happy with Gain.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
iZurvey is proven to slow GA progression.
iZurvey gets GA GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad Pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Dr. James Lance Taylor, historian and political scientist, so many things to cover on this Monday, March 10th. Talk to me a little bit about, the commemorations this weekend of Selma and the march on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, the March for Voting Rights, why it's important to reflect on that in the moment of history that we are faced with right now.
I think it's, again, the perennial nature of some of our society that I'm talking about to everything. That just shows expression of decision making and that leads to brutality of our. That's been an ongoing issue. It's not something that's been in America. We are not black.
We're losing your phone a little bit. Hopefully we can fix that. But right before we went to news, traffic, and sports, you said something that I was really reflecting on this weekend, Dr. James Lance Taylor, which is about the way that culture works for us as Black Americans, as Black people globally, but especially as Black Americans, of course, the inventors of jazz and blues and hip hop and country. No, I'm just not saying that. That is what it is. Many of you know, because I refer to it all the time, the fact that my dad, the late Amiri Baraka, Leroy Jones, was a founder of the Black Arts Movement. He taught me from a young age that all art is political, so be mindful of what you're saying. Be mindful of what you're inspiring or discouraging. We could go see a James Bond movie, Dr. Taylor, and my dad would be breaking down the geopolitical and social messages and what the propaganda was that was hidden in there. So I learned to do the same. And I was thinking this weekend that is exactly what we need to lean into, is arts and culture, for ourselves, for our own sanity, the consumption of it, and also the creation of it, and also for education, to make us smarter and to make us less crazy.
I agree. And Harold Cruz, again, he talked about there being a political front and an economics front, there being a cultural front. And like a bullet in a gun chamber, we need to know which bullet to use particular time in history. And so we're facing another white backlash, and this is still a backlash to the idea of a Black man president and a Black woman vice and woman vice presidential candidate. This backlash to that, and figure out is what is the best bullet to use right. And culture is what Kendrick Lamar showed us. That was the launching of it. It was saying, here, they can't touch it. They don't know what to do with it. Got so confused, all those young Black people in the games on both some of the young people managing some of the athletes, like Jason Hurts manages a young Black woman. You saw, all that energy up on the had every feature of Black, urban being displayed around Compton. And that's the power we have that they can't touch. The power of Black culture is ancient. It's older than white people are. It's older than all governments of the world. This is something I think we need to, I tell my students, we are Black older than America. We were here before I was born.
Well, we're gonna work on that phone. I'm not sure what's happening, but that's how it goes. But I think it's a great point, Dr. Taylor. And I just it's funny that you brought it up, because I was reminding myself over the weekend, we're going to go there. I'm going to call on us to go there. I'm going to remind us of that strength. And then you just bring it up. And one of the worrisome things, even though it's not really that worrisome, is that a little bit worrisome, is that I think the Elon Musk and Donald Trump have made some inroads with some of the hip hop artists who feel, I was talking to one the other day, who feel that, well, he let, Lil Wayne and Kodak Black, and, he did the First Step Act, and so maybe Trump will be better for black men somehow. I think there's an admiration of the gold toilet and the flashy lifestyle. I think there's an admiration of Musk being the richest man in the world in a culture that, would celebrate a Scarface in that kind of a context. Sort of the glamorization of Trump and Melania and Musk and his 14 babies. And that feels like a bit of a cultural incursion. What are your thoughts on that? Even though
Kendrick Lamar is so important, that his going back and forth with Drake is also going back and forth with the commercialism. In fact, Drake is everything wrong with rap and hip hop, right? And I know he's got plenty of fans out there, but my point is, what was exposed is that he didn't have an authentic. His daddy's black, so I'm not taking that away from him. And his daddy was an artist, I'm not taking that away from him. But there was something about his experience that maybe it was because he was in Toronto and not Compton that he can't tap into. And Kendrick has showed us we have deep culture to tap into, again, for our mental and spiritual survival. Also about the art and how art uses commercialism, right? Toni Morrison's don't do art; they buy it. The poor and the workers, they produce. And Kendrick is a perfect example. And it's over. Like there's nobody else out there that can touch Kendrick Lamar right now. And he's deep in the culture, deep in the art. He's not talking materialism. He ain't talking about assets and gold chains and he ain't doing that. And that's why people are drawn to it, because one, it's an amazing West Coast sound, but on top of that, he's sending us all kinds of messages. Like he said, squabble up. They don't know what squabble. We know what squabble up means. So if he's saying squabble up, we're telling us get ready for the fight. So, but meanwhile, he out there dancing to my squabble up, and they figuring out, why are there so many black people out there? There are no white people. Meanwhile, he's telling black folk, get ready for the fight, squabble up. And so, again, the cultural front, to me, is where we still can be loud and effective. And of course, that doesn't mean you abandon the political front or the economic front, meaning black businesses, women's businesses, entrepreneurship. You can still encourage that, but you have to know the signs of the times in which you're in. And to me, when Kendrick Lamar broke through the way he did, after so many things had already been happening, planes were already falling from the sky. We had the incidents with the trucks blowing up, in Vegas, right? And we had the other incident, and we had the man get shot, the insurance man. We had all this chaos within the first couple of weeks, and then Kendrick Lamar, and it's basically it's a call. He sort of said, "Come on, and for you, this is for you," and that's the beginning of our response. And we got
to leave it there. We got news, traffic, and sports. We'll continue on the other side. Dr. James Lance Taylor, KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. The D.C. Department of Transportation is starting to remove a Black Lives Matter mural in Northwest Washington, D.C. The process will take 6 to 8 weeks. The Black Lives Matter mural was installed in June 2020 in response to nationwide protests against police brutality following the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. President Trump warned that tariffs against Mexico and Canada might increase further. In a Fox News interview, he emphasized his commitment to preventing the U.S. from being taken advantage of. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is naming a new leader to ICE. On Sunday, Noem announced she's tapped Todd Lyons, a longtime agency employee, to serve as acting director of ICE. And NASA announced that astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams, stranded on the ISS for nearly 9 months, will return to Earth on March 16th. Their return will be facilitated by SpaceX due to safety concerns with the Boeing Starliner spacecraft. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Congratulations to the UCLA women's basketball team. They overcame a 14-point deficit in the fourth quarter to beat USC for the Big Ten Conference Tournament Championship. Final score, 72-67. First conference title for UCLA in women's basketball since 2006. 17 points and 4 steals for Bruin center Lauren Betts. Juju Watkins led USC with 29 points. Both teams should get a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. The Lakers will be without LeBron for at least 2 weeks. LeBron has a groin injury. The last time LeBron had this issue, he missed 17 games last season. The Lakers are at Brooklyn tonight. Kawhi Leonard's hook shot at the buzzer lifted the Clippers to a 111-110 win over Sacramento in overtime. Third straight win for the Clippers. Wide receiver Devontae Adams, a 6-time Pro Bowler, will be in a Rams uniform next season. Adams signed a 2-year deal worth $46 million. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Eaton Canyon fire devastated many black families in Altadena, taking more than just homes. It took memories, legacies, and generational wealth. The heart of a black community is now in jeopardy, but Justice Coalition, led by Gage and King LA Lawyers for the People, are here to help. If you've lost your home, we are standing by to hold insurance companies and utilities accountable for the damage caused. When the community suffers, we all suffer. Together, we can rebuild what was lost. Your recovery starts today. Call 626-429-1259. That's 626-429-1259. Or visit www.eatonfirelawyers.net. Justice Coalition, Gage and King, LA Lawyers for the People. We got you. Call 626-429-1259. Visit www.eatonfirelawyers.net. Again, 626-429-1259. This is attorney advertising. Past results do not guarantee future outcomes. Legal representation is provided by licensed attorneys.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to announce that, like George and Weezy,
Well, we're moving on now.
earlier this year, we were named a semi-finalist for the American Climate Leadership Awards 2025. Wait for it. Wait for it.
You ready?
KBLA Talk 1580 was recently selected as one of 10 finalists being considered for this prestigious award. Hundreds of organizations, institutions, and even cities were nominated in the selection process. But KBLA Talk 1580 has made it to the finals. You're invited to watch live on Wednesday, April 16th. At 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, as Eco America announces the winner and the runner-up, awarding over $200,000 in prize money. To watch live, just go to ecoamerica.org to register and attend the online ceremony. That's ecoamerica.org. Don't miss the presentation of the American Climate Leadership Awards 2025, Wednesday, April 16th, and wish us luck. Caring about the climate, caring about the community, changing the conversation. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
You carry a lot. The needs of your family and friends, the responsibilities of work and home, and that doesn't stop when your period starts. New Always Ultra Thin pads are designed to keep up with your busy life. When an unexpected gush hits, you need to trust that your pad has your back and your flow. With new and improved rapid dry technology, Always Ultra Thin now absorbs 3 times faster than the leading size 2 store brand pad, so you can feel cleaner, drier, and fresher. Always Ultra Thin. Always gush ready.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio, KBLA Talk 1580.
Author, Black scholar, and professor Dr. James Lance Taylor is with me. The stock market is tanking. Over the weekend, the president did an interview in which he said he won't rule out a recession. He says we're doing really big things. And so that, we could see some, what did he say? That we're doing really big things. We're bringing wealth back to America. It's a big thing. There are always periods of it takes a little time. In other words, back to what Elon Musk said before the election, which is everyday Americans may feel some pain. Sounds like the pain is imminent.
Well, that's the madness of racism. And you got people like Nebraska. The state of Nebraska is saying the whole state might be going bankrupt in a couple of months. Now, that's as red as you can get outside of Omaha. And these people were proudly racist, and they cheered for it in all of these places that are now being devastated. West Virginia, there's a bunch of white folk marching in West Virginia because they didn't think this racist was going to come after them. And that's their fault. And I don't feel sorry for any of them because they egged it on. They corrupted the leader. In other words, my book coming out next year that's already done is called White God, Black Death, People's Temple, Jim Jones, and the Politics of Revolutionary Suicide. And one of the things that I detected in the scholarship is the people corrupted Jim Jones as much as he corrupted them by telling him he was God, by telling him he was divine, by telling him he was great. And now you got these fools in America. This is America. And you got white people openly saying, yes, let's make him a king. Now, this is sickness. But it's because the white supremacy in their hearts is the most important thing. Not health care, not education, not international affairs. If so, how is it that every red state in the South outside of Florida and Texas is poor and been poor? And there's nothing more proud than a white man from Mississippi. There ain't nothing more poor and less educated than a white man from Mississippi. So this is ancient. This is what they do, and they're willing to suffer in order to stay on top. And we're also seeing, like with Gavin Newsom, just like they did in Reconstruction in the 1870s, the North and South reunited so that the white folk could stay on top. And we're seeing that again. We saw it with Mika and Joe Scarborough, how they ran down to Mar-a-Lago. Yep. And then we saw it with Gavin Newsom yesterday, 2 days ago. Gavin Newsom is meeting with Charlie Kirk, a white boy that dropped out of college, has a high school education, who goes around debating undergraduate students on campus about stupid stuff that has no bearing in real life or reverse discrimination, that kind of silliness. And then he said he wouldn't fly with a black pilot. Now, this boy is so dumb that he don't know nothing about the fact that the Tuskegee Airmen were the best flyers in American history, bar none in every war. The Red Tails were the best ever. And Eleanor Roosevelt flew in the plane with one.
Right.
And
Not to mention, you can't just walk up and say, I want to be a pilot, give me a job, I'm black. I mean, you have to go to pilot school. You have to fly the hours. But it's a great point about Charlie Kirk. Yeah.
If you were black in the 1940s and you became a doctor or a nurse or a scientist or a pilot, in other words, who could they had it harder, Babe Ruth or Hank Aaron?
Yeah. Well said. It's interesting you said earlier how China is targeting farmers in red states. Canada is also targeting red states. And they've made statements about how they're doing it because they know who's causing the problems for their country. And I think that's an interesting tactic. Do you think it'll move the needle with those red state voters?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely. And not with voters, but with the political class, with the invisible hands. When they are seeing the bottom line beginning to be affected, like you said, the stock market is one indicator, they will push back. And you'll begin to see more and more Republicans try to push back. And again, for the Democrats, if they could ever get their act together and really support the black voters who support them, they could actually do well in the midterms. The problem with the Democrats is they keep trying to win the same racist vote that the Republicans keep going for. Yep. The Cor Vermont, the Aaron Brockovich voter, instead of going like Stacey Abrams taught us, go deep into black voters who have never voted before, not the not the voters.
Why is it that Republicans understand catering to their base and Democrats don't? Is it because the parties really are in many ways the same? I mean, I've had this argument so many times. Someone made a great video on Instagram where they're saying, well, the Democrats are corporatists and the Republicans are oligarchs. So the Republicans just want to destroy everything so they can privatize it, whereas the Democrats want to cooperate with corporate America to kind of maintain the status quo. And, I don't think that, I think Gaza is an example of how they're really not the same. But is it the reason when you talk about them catering to the Liz Cheney or the so-called mythical soccer mom, the mythical independent voter, which is really a Republican in disguise, is it because that's where their sympathies really are? And they just reject the progressive wing of their own party because that's not where their politics are?
I would say so. I would say that the pendulum swings back and forth, and where I think black voters have to be responsive is, again, what Trump did this time is what Stacey Abrams did in 2020 in Georgia very effectively. Stacey didn't go after the person that votes a lot. She went after the person like my brothers who never vote, and I call them to be responsible.
I call them the unlikely voters, Dr. Taylor, and I believe that a lot of those unlikely voters are black people and young people, and so we have the best shot at getting those folks if we would activate them.
But see, you have to have policies like. I thought about this. If Kamala, when she came up with the 5-point plan for black men, if she had included something like as specific as reform on the child support system in relationship to incarcerating fathers who can't afford to pay the arrears once they're in arrears, and then they end up in this cycle of criminality and not being able to provide for their children. If Kamala was able to speak to something that specific, that would undermine Trump's influence with this hip hop element that you talked about. That she needs to offer a specific, concrete policy like that. Like in other words, if she had said, "I support reform in the child support system in a way that is fair to women and to men, fathers and mothers," Kamala Harris will be president of the United States.
You know what? Maybe. I mean, I still believe voter suppression, and I actually believe manipulation by the tech oligarchs probably wouldn't have made that happen. But I understand your point. It could have helped to undermine. I also think there's so much mis and disinformation. Kamala Harris could have given a free house to every black man in America, and many wouldn't have trusted it because they would have said, something. Oh, well, she just wants us to be house Negroes or whatever, like some dumb talking point that would have made them turn towards the thing that is actually predatory to our young people and ourselves. So I think a lot of it, for me, is we got to get to the media literacy, and even more pressingly now with AI, the media literacy and the social media literacy, so that people can learn to detect the BS from actual fact.
Right, and real quickly, going back to the point on the two parties, what makes them different, and again, I don't mean it in the extreme sense, but is really the black and brown and woman presence in the Democrats that distinguish them. In other words, if you took the Rainbow Coalition element out of the Democratic Party, you have two white supremacist parties in America. The only thing that modifies the Democrats is the presence of blacks in the party. The problem is ideologically, they are not committed to a black agenda like Biden said he was when he met with Charlemagne the God that time and said, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. Biden said
Charlemagne the God is not even committed to a black agenda, I would argue.
Right, right. But Biden used the word black manifesto, and I was like, whoa, did he say that? And he did. He made a mistake, but he said that, and nobody followed up on it.
Yeah.
But again, I think if you took out the Fred Hampton, Jesse Jackson, Barack Obama, Rainbow Coalition element from the Democratic Party, they oppose blacks on many fronts as much as Republicans do, just a little bit less. Like the Republicans may be anti-black 67%, the Democrats will be anti-black 54%, but they still will be anti-black. So the Democrats are not really committed to anything that black folk represent, and that's the problem. Is black folk need somebody like a Bernie Sanders, who's much younger, to run hard left, all the way left, deep left, to the point where they look like Trump going deep right, and that's how you will win.
I mean, I agree. I agree with that. I think all this namby-pamby, Liz Cheney dabbling, all this, apologetic analysis that says, oh, we've gone too radical. No, if you take away the labels from most of the progressive policies, Medicare for all, free college, so many of the policies that progressives tout, if you take off the label Republican or Democrat, the American people are in support of those, and the Democrats try to co-opt them, but they don't go all the way through, follow all the way through, and take the policy where it was meant to go. So as a result, you get a sort of wimpy version of it. And I agree with you, Dr. James Lance Taylor. We need a Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren person of color who can show up, step up, and say, we're not going to compromise, and we're not going to get shenaniganed out of our nomination like Bernie Sanders did. I'll love to hear your thoughts on that when we continue. I'm Dominique DiPrima with Dr. James Lance Taylor on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have health news, a CDC update.
Pneumococcal vaccination is now recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
I feel so alone.
I'm embarrassed to talk about it.
How can I help my kid if I can't help myself?
I can't remember when I wasn't stressed.
I don't like it.
When you feel overwhelmed by your thoughts and emotions, it's okay to get help. You are not alone. CalHope is here for you with free, safe, and confidential mental health resources for youth, young adults, families, and you. Find support now at calhope.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. The Live Your Life organization mentors young women, helping them break negative mindsets and see beyond their surroundings. Through career exposure and hands-on training, they're encouraged to think big, stay focused, and make positive choices. Founded by Nikisha Mama Boo Smith, who transformed her life to become a community leader. Live Your Life is changing lives, but they need your help. They're raising funds to keep their new building open and expand their programs. Your donations will support food, clothes, hygiene products, and holiday giveaways. Visit liveyourlife32.com. That's LIVEYOLIFE32.com to help today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
Political science and Professor Dr. James Lance Taylor. So we're talking about the differences or non-differences between the two parties. I have said a number of times recently on this show that I'm considering going no party preference. I'm tired of the Democratic Party downplaying, pimping, and then not following through, not delivering on the progressive wing of the party, of which I consider myself a part. But third parties in this country have not been viable. Do we have time to build an actual respectable third party? And by the way, I think people are giving Jill Stein a pass. She got something like 18% of the vote in Michigan. That would have easily handed that state to Kamala Harris. And I think she doesn't get the smoke she should get for the role she plays as a perennial spoiler.
And then she disappears, and she'll come back in 2028 again and do what she did, and then disappear again. But yeah, I think the solution to American politics, and especially for minority politics and black politics, is a multi-party system. If we had 5 political parties, we wouldn't be as united behind one, but we also wouldn't be getting played by 2. And we get played by 2. If you're in political science class and your first year as a student, the class will take maybe intro to government. And by the time you get to chapter 15 of any text on political science, it's usually the political parties. And they call them Tweedledee and Tweedledum in America because they work together against third parties in all 50 states. The 2 parties cooperate to prevent a John Anderson, or if Bernie had run independent, or a whatever his name was that ran, Ralph Nader, when he ran in 2000. The Republicans and Democrats are united in keeping us from a multi-party system, and that is the real solution to America's problems politically. But they have a monopoly on it, and they're not going to give it up. But I do think we should build from the bottom. I think we need to have independent parties in certain places where there's a black population of 30% or more. You pull in about 20% of the Latino vote. You pull in the progressive vote. That's a rainbow coalition. That's what got Jesse his success when he ran. Jesse ran well. Obama won on the rainbow coalition. Kamala's constituency is the rainbow coalition. And I think we could have a rainbow party everywhere in America at the local level, like the Green Party does. Look, the Green Party could have, Matt Gonzalez could have beaten Gavin Newsom if he had run as an independent. A woman named Audie Bach, a white woman named Audie Bach, defeated Elihu Harris, who was the mayor of Oakland, when he did something stupid in a campaign and gave people watermelon and chicken at a campaign. She pounced on that, and she ended up winning for the Green Party and representing Oakland. So it's possible. And the thing is, Dominique, if you study your ancestors, this is what I'm saying. What did Fannie Lou Hamer and Ella Baker do with the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party? They taught us, okay, even if we can't start our own party, we're going to run against our party within the party game. And they did it, and they beat the white Democrats, and then LBJ played them. But it happened again in Chicago under Harold Washington. Black folk were upset with the Democrats, and they ran an independent black party campaign inside the Democratic Party, and that's how Harold Washington won. So those are examples of what our ancestors have done. But if you go back to the 1800s, Dominique, black folk kept a third and fourth political party. We tried way more political parties up until 1960. Look, Gary Convention was the moment. In 1972, at Gary, Indiana, where your father, Shirley Chisholm, Jesse Jackson shined, right, in this gathering of 20,000 people. That should have kept going on. We should have had that in 76 and 80 and 84, 88, 92, all the way up to now. We should have kept that kind of forum, and we can allow LGBTQ, not allow, but we can have LGBTQ voices, we can have trans voices, we can have youth voices, we can have professional, medical, lawyers. Everybody come and talk to our people about the pressing issues of the day, and then we walk out of there either united or in disagreement, but we're going to close ranks and show solidarity. So a third party is possible at the local level. Real quickly, it's the Black Panthers in 1973 when Elaine Brown ran well and Bobby Seale almost won the mayoralty. They ran as Democrats, and I think that was a terrible mistake. And they're both still alive over in Oakland right now. But if they had created a Black Panther Party that was just in Oakland, nowhere else, don't try it nowhere else, just in Oakland, and it doesn't have to be it would be an actual political party. If they had done that, Black politics in Oakland would be in way better conditions than it is under Black Democrats, because Black Democrats, again, they just hold in the line for their bosses. AIPAC dominates the Democratic Party, and those people that control the Democratic Party control, a lot of our black leaders. We have the largest number of congressional Black caucus members ever. So Black folks' politics right now at the congressional level has never been this strong.
Well, okay, we just have a minute and a half here, but you mentioned the $400 million that Columbia is getting defunded by the Trump administration. I imagine that's going to happen. Institutions all across the country, they're investigating them for anti-Semitism. But this isn't just a private issue for the college, right? I mean, we're talking about research and real impact on our country and our resources and our knowledge that comes from this kind of defunding.
That's right, and the intention is to have a ripple effect and to have the impact of having a chilling effect on university trustees and presidents all over the country. So now they're going down calling like a person like me who teaches Black politics now. I guess I'm vulnerable. And to me, that's why but to me, that's who we are. We are supposed to be the opposition. So right now, they should be coming after me. If not, I'm not doing something right in these double times. If they're not bothering you, then maybe you need to speak up more, because I am speaking up wherever I can. I'm here on the radio. I'm in my classroom. I'm on TV up here, and I'm calling the devil the devil. I'm not calling the devil my friend. I'm calling the devil the devil, and these are the times we need clarity in our leaders. We don't need people with two sides, with forked tongues, talking Democrat party politics, and then, trying to be nice to us. Think about it. If Kamala had supported reparations, if Karen Bass had supported reparations, if London Breed had supported reparations up here in San Francisco, London Breed would have won. Just like I said about the
well, I mean, but to be fair, Kamala Harris introduced H.R. 1 in the Senate version when she was in, and she said on the campaign trail that she supported a study. Now, maybe people wanted her to go further, but that's more than I've ever seen any Democrat doing, especially campaigning while Black. Well, it's time to pass the mic to Mr. Tavis Smiley. I hope you'll come back again soon, Dr. Taylor.
Absolutely. I love opening up for Tavis Smiley, so that's a wonderful thing. Thank you so much for having me, Dominique.
Yes, that is my honor and my pleasure every day. Thank you for having us. Being the opening act for Tavis Smiley every day. And then, of course, Dr. Cornel West comes after that, Jesse Jackson Jr., D.L. Hughley, Dr. Nicordelai Cortez, O. Williams. I forgot Jill Monroe.
Tell Ice Cube to call me so we can talk about starting that Black political party here in California. I get in touch with Ice Cube.
If he calls me back, I'll call you. I've been trying to get him on this show ever since I cracked the mic. Dr. Taylor, thanks again. I'm going to leave you with a quote from my father today, since Dr. Taylor brought him up. Amiri Baraka says, "America is as much a Black country as a white one. The lives and destinies of the white American are bound up inextricably with those of the Black American." Tavis Smiley is up next, kicking off your Monday with a full slate of impactful guests. You do not want to miss it. Don't forget to tap in with me on all the social media, KBLA 1580, wherever we are. And, of course, I'm at DiPrima Radio, DIPRIMA Radio. Got a lively discussion about Altadena going on online. Like my mama used to say, history is now, and we are making it together. I'm Dominique DiPrima, and I love arguing and fellowshipping with you online and on the air. So until tomorrow, keep talking. One love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with B.I. Taylor. President Trump warned that tariffs against Mexico and Canada might increase further. In a Fox News interview, he emphasized his commitment to preventing the U.S. from being taken advantage of.